Welcome to Perspectives, a brand new talk show here on UTV. We promise to bring you perspectives of different people, of successful people, and to find out what made them so different to the others. This is UTV. This is a brand new English talk show. We're calling it Perspectives. And generally, when new things happen, even when I do something new, I generally like to buy new clothes, whether it's a new job or a marriage or anything that's coming up. We like to buy new clothes, don't we? Now, for this new show, I wanted to go shopping and I wanted to get a few new shirts. Unfortunately, I couldn't find the time. But if I had the time, I would have gone to Sri Lanka's leading men's clothing brand, which is Hameedia's. But since I couldn't go shopping, I decided, you know what, let's talk to the person who is the face and the name behind the brand for this first episode. Welcome to the show, Mr. Fouzul Hameed, the managing director of Hameedia's and the name and the face behind the Hameedia's brand that we've come to know. How are you doing, sir? How are things? How has COVID rocked your ship too much, or things are going okay for you guys?
Yeah, actually, we were rocked badly, but then it was a punishment for everyone in the world. So I think with our experience, with a good team we had, we are getting back, and we are actually, I would say, bouncing back in a big time. So I think it's all about how much effort, how much focus you give to the work. You know, I mean, time like this, it's not easy. Like as I said, if you want to get 100 runs in a test match, you have to focus and stay in the wicket.
Correct.
And start hitting in the right time. So we do that, but it's tough. But since we have expanded, we have nearly 1,000 people working, so we want to see that business move on forward.
Let's roll back the years a little bit, Mr. Hameed. You started early in the early 80s. What were you like? I mean, these days, things are very different in the world. Youngsters nowadays, you know, I call this the TikTok generation. We are so involved with social media and these kind of things. But what about a younger Hameed? We talk about, you know, when you started in the early 80s, what were you as a youngster when you were about to join the father's business? Were you one of those studious types, or were you one of those wild childs? What were you like? And was this men's clothing something that you always wanted to do, or did you have different ambitions?
Actually, no, we are a family business. We 6 in a family. And normally the elder gets the business. It was a small business. It was a business came from my granduncle who started in 1925. It was given to my dad, bought it in 1949 from uncle. Then now I am working, my children are working, my brother's children are working. So it's a business which was given to the family. So I didn't want to get involved.
Okay.
So I tried to get a job and I didn't get it. So because this family unity, I went and joined my brother, and then he moved into exports. So I took over the retail, and when I took over, I immediately felt there is a market for me, and because there were many designers that come and get their clothes from me. So I felt like, you know, when I was in the late when I was like 19-20 years, I had this, because my father was running a tailor shop, and I mean, I always make things the way I want with a tailor. So everyone loves what I do, so they keep on asking where do you get. So at that school days, I've been doing it, and a friend of mine told me I'd go to London for a fashion school. That time we didn't have money, but then that time you don't get internet, nothing.
That's true.
So I learned the art of making clothes early in my life, because that was my strength, I would say. My thanks, my parents.
I guess it runs in the family, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's in the blood, you know.
Yeah.
So from the time I got involved, I found that I had plans. So it all worked the way I want. So it's like a dream come true.
That's true. That's true. We talked about you getting involved in the business in the early 80s. I think 83 precisely, if I was reading right.
84.
Yeah. So that's about the time when, you know, Sri Lanka was just getting into this whole civil war, and then, you know, 3 decades of absolute hardship. We had this conflict, economic hardship throughout the country, right? And now with COVID as well. There are times, you know, it becomes so tough for businesses. You must have felt where, you know what, I don't want any of this, let me just give up. Were there moments like that? And if so, what motivated you to keep going, Mr. Hameed?
Yeah, I mean, we went through many hard times. I mean, sometimes I feel like, I mean, it's not easy. There were strikes, there were, we had closed down shops, there was so much bomb blast every other day, like some days, you know. We don't know what's going to happen to our life. And I think it's all about we should be lucky. But thank God we know we survived. I mean, many people went through the tough time. So I think that experience to survive at that time had given us to survive at any time, because now during the civil war time, many people didn't expand. Many people were like migrating. They were not doing anything like. So we expanded. Okay. That's the time we got the best of the location. So I felt people were coming and offering us, and we got that advantage, and we placed that quite well. And every time people were telling me to do like the department stores, like now people were telling me now XY is doing this. Why can't I always want to do what I can give the best, what I want, but I know. So what I learned is all about men's. But before that, as a designer, I was doing female clothes.
Oh, okay.
I was initially a female designer.
Wow, okay.
So then my mother was always behind my neck because whenever I come in the media, she keeps the paper cuttings. And so I had, due to her advice, and she was saying, I mean, there are things which we cannot do. True. So I gave up the female clothes and got into men. Okay. And I think that's a good thing because we always say what parents say is a good thing, because Absolutely. My father was doing men's clothing, and that for me it was the platform was created. True. I just had to move forward.
Yeah.
So
and absolutely revolutionize the industry. That's what you did in here in Sri Lanka. Right. Time for a quick break. We'll be back on the other side, and then we'll hear about what other things Mr. Hameed does. Welcome back to Perspectives. We are in conversation with the name and the face behind the known brand Hameedias. We're in conversation with Mr. Fouzul Hameed. Mr. Hameed, we were talking about your start and how you got into this whole men's clothing brand. Now you've sort of established yourself in such a way that, whoever wants to get new clothing, they go to Hameedias. But you as a person, now that you've built this empire around you, you're making more time for other activities. The first time I saw you in person was at a school fundraiser where I was hosting and comparing. And that's when I was really impressed by the fact that, okay, here is a man who's running a whole empire called Hameedias, and here he is also doing so many philanthropic and, charitable activities. What's the story behind this? What drives you towards, getting involved in so much charity work and, getting involved in schools and education as a whole?
Yes, I think for that I must thank my mother and the father. My mother, yet she's dedicated on helping people. So when people approach me for education, I always see that if the country need to move forward or any family need to come up in life, it's education, nothing else, right? So I was called to run a school. So I felt run mean take over. So it was in a very, I would say, pathetic situation, and there were a lot of issues. So it took me about 2-3 years to clear and uplift. So then I learned, I mean, it's not rocket science, right? I mean, it was there and everything was there, everything gone. So today we go to most of the schools, especially government schools. I mean, the government paying the teachers and the building is there, but the old boys, because of the divisions, and this thing happened. So I did a model how to upgrade a school. So that was the thing. And by going there, I saw a lot of poor children. There are hundreds of children come without breakfast. They come from broken families, there are separations, parents are sick. So these children, when I see out of my eyes, they're coming with breakfast, they come with torn shirts. So I felt, but my parents did, I saw it, and it's not big thing, so I started helping. Now I've gone towards maybe nearly 100 schools. Wow. I run a foundation called My Friend, which we help all 4 communities. And in my office there's a team of people who support this, and it's getting well. So as I said earlier, if you can uplift one in a family, that he will run the entire family and he will move forward, and that is only through education.
So you believe that education is that one key factor that not just provides a solution to the problem of poverty, but I also believe, Mr. Hameed, that it can also put a lot of stoppage to things like these ethnic issues that we're having between communities and things like that. Do you think education can do that for us as a country?
Of course, when you are educated, see, you think bigger picture. You think there are a lot of things you can do when you are not educated. I'm talking today, our education system is not in a good shape. Because even though they're educated, there's a question there. Now, I think with proper education, and in the morning today I was saying, I was training with my trainer, and he from a village, he's an ex-army guy, and so he said his son was a bit mischievous, all this. So after advising him, I said, school will only teach, I mean, for 5-6 hours. Rest come home.
Correct.
So it's the home environment which the parents has to do, and that is the biggest gift. Because for me, my parents, what they told me in business, also I'm practicing.
Correct.
Right? My mother told me I can't lie. So in the 80s, a lot of people selling fake. Whole market was fake and rejects. Because she always says, don't feed me by, we talk about halal and haram always. She says, I had to do halal business. That's a big issue for her. Right now, I can't lie. And we can't sell imitation. We can't sell fake. Like, example, now people sell linen. Those days, it was looking like linen. They sell silk. It is not silk, it's polyester.
Okay.
So if it's leather, so for us, at one time, we couldn't identify what is silk and what is linen.
Okay.
But because at home, my parents said, I can't lie. So we had to now, can't tell the lies to customer and make money.
True.
That only made us to make brands.
Correct.
Because we didn't know. I started brands the way I want. Because I don't want to sell any fake brands. I don't want to sell
copies and imitations.
Copies and things. So all this come because at home we were taught those values. So I think education is very important, but both has to go parallel. I mean, that will really make, that's why I say, make the real man.
Correct. Wow. Okay, that's a good line to actually, use on someone. So it's not just that institutionalized education or the academics that we're talking about. Mr. Hameed says that it's the values and the morals that we're taught at home that make a real man. Obviously, he'll agree that it's along with the kind of clothing that you wear as well, right? Time for another quick break. When we come back, we'll ask one last question from Mr. Hameed. Welcome back to Perspectives. It's a brand new show here on UTV. It's the first and only English talk show that we have introduced, where we hope to talk to successful personalities and learn about their perspectives. Because perspectives is everything, isn't it? How you see things, how you react to things, and that's what makes you successful, or the other way around. Today we are in conversation with Mr. Fouzul Hameed, who is the Managing Director of Hameedias, and he has been telling us about how he started, the brands that he has created, and some of the other things that he's been involved in. Mr. Hameed, the world has changed a lot now, hasn't it? You said earlier, back in the 80s, even getting in touch with a supplier was such a big task. No internet, no emails. You had to send long faxes, make those IDD calls, and it was expensive at the same time.
Yeah.
Right now, the world is at our fingertips. Every youngster has the whole world in his palm through this phone.
Yeah.
Times have changed so much. I call this, as I told you earlier, this is a social media generation. Everyone's constantly in touch, constantly talking to each other. There's an overflow of information sometimes. If you were a younger self, an 18-year-old Fouzul Hameed right now, if you meet an 18-year-old Fouzul Hameed in the making right now, what would be your advices to someone like them? If you're going to start a new empire like the way you've done, if they're going to start a new business, something like men's clothing, some of the things that you learned from your beginnings, and according to the way the world is right now, what would you tell such a person?
Yes, good question. I mean, last 2-3 weeks I've been in various startup programs, and those are like quite a big programs. So in some program I was in the panel. See, for me, but I was taught honesty, integrity.
Okay.
Whatever you do in life, see, if you have vision and if you set a goal, definitely it may take some time, but there's no shortcut. People think, okay, you can take a bigger loan, you can borrow fund, you can build, but you go step by step, and then you learn, you make mistake, right? And definitely you can achieve. So one word is focus on what you do. Like you said, this technology is in the fingertip, but too much is a waste of time. I see it, a lot of youngsters are getting addicted. I mean, they spend a lot of time on the mobile rather than doing work. So this is your time to build your career. If you have, I keep saying my children, right? I mean, now okay, they are young, and now they talk the different language, but I can read them well, and this type of I mean, I see a lot of children. I move with them. So
Because you're involved in the whole schools thing.
yeah,
right?
I
Of course.
meet, and some children are amazing, right? I just can't. But it's all about, I mean, you're achieving a target, right? In life, I mean, if you want to set up a brand, now example, we open a store in London.
Okay.
And it's not easy to open a store in central London, in Kensington High Street. So when I took Tony Gregg in 25 years ago, and I had planned this. I want to bring this envoy London. We registered the brand 15 years ago in with all these things. I went through legally with the lawyers. Logo got rejected, and so last year in High Street in Kensington, we envoy London store. So I mean, it's all about how much effort you put it. It's not just come.
Correct.
So anyone want to start, have a dream, keep that honest integrity. Product is important, and I mean, once you have the right thing, definitely nothing is impossible.
Honesty and integrity, those are the two key words that Mr. Hameed wants to emphasize on if you are about to start a career or a business. Okay, since we have a little bit more time, I'll ask you one last question, and this could be a bit personal. For all the success that you have achieved, Mr. Hameed, in all these years, who do you think has had the most influence on you? Someone who has been your pillar of support? I know you mentioned your parents, obviously, but other than that, anyone, like a best friend, spouse, who do you think you relate your success to?
Yeah, there are few people, like especially my father, I mean mother, right? They gave the brand,
Of course.
Hameedia. Then my brothers, sisters, the unity in the family. We had that unity. Nobody wanted to take the bigger part.
Okay.
So everybody was equally moving on. If not, we can't become a third generation business. The values we learn, and definitely my staff. We had fantastic set of staff who understood our vision, and my suppliers. I had amazing suppliers. We were like friends, They trust my way of doing things. And I went to Japan, Milan. I think I would have been the first person to go to Italy and to Japan to buy clothes. I mean, those are days, the bomb blast every day. And Japanese ask me, hey, why you come all the way? I mean, for them, bomb blast means they are very scared, very sensitive.
True.
And they feel sorry for me. And they started giving me the best of everything, right? That was the secret of my business. Now it's open, nothing. So I think it was all about good networking, genuine people, good, honest people who had a vision to drive a business. I think that's
people who are like-minded, eye to eye, they see with you, I guess.
Like-minded, definitely.
Awesome, Mr. Hameed. It's been a lovely conversation, and if as parting words, if I could tell you this, for me personally, at least if I could look half as good as you are right now at your age, for me that will be a great success. Thank you so much for having a chat with us.
Thank you. Good luck to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Fouzul Hameed, the Managing Director of Hameedias, on our first episode of Perspectives, the talk show here on UTV. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week on another episode of Perspectives with another special guest. Until then, I am Samir Yunus. See you.